Ginzers out there. Welcome back to DIY and That. Today's part 3 of the restoration of the Walker Turner Jigsaw. And we're going to start disassembling it. So follow along here and I'll show you how we get it apart. Now let's get the motor off first. Get that out of the way. Let's see if I have the proper wrench here. Looks like the right one. I had this off before we moved it, so it's loose. To come up with a better way to bolt this down, because the bolts are they put a nut underneath the base of the saw, so there's no way to take the motor off without pulling the saw off the stand. We're going to have to do something different. We're going to have to figure out some way underneath there to permanently attach those nuts so that we can take it apart from the top and move the motor around. Because that is because you lose the nut once you take the bolt out. We also can't adjust the tension on the belt because we can't move the motor without losing the nuts. So that's something we're going to have to take care of. But let's get the motor off. Belt doesn't look too bad, so probably do not need to replace that. I'll probably just keep using this one. So that's a good thing. One less item to spend money on. Let's get the table off, and as we saw last time, the table is just held on by one nut. So that's simple. Just loosen that up. Just slide that forward and pull that out. Now let's disassemble some things on the head here. This should allow the blower tube support and the back blade guide support to slide out of here. So let's see if that'll. These are a little. That is the result of dirt. Let me get a hammer. There's all old grease and stuff stuck in there, and there's some gunk on the end of that, so that's why it doesn't want to go through there. So, oh, what happened there? We got some. I hit the end of it, and a whole bunch of crud came off. Let's go. There's some rust. Also inside there, this is brass, but the casting is trying to avoid knocking. Casting is iron, so got a little rust in there. Trying to avoid not having that fall on me, so we don't break it. Take the clamp out. That's good. Let's see what else we got here now. This whole thing supposedly is held on by that nut. Kind of an odd setup, so let's see if we can get that off, and that should loosen the head and out front here. Let's see if that's all right. Conveniently, that is the same size as the nut for the table, so at least they were thoughtful about that. Let's see. As I mentioned, I was hitting these with a PB blaster to loosen everything up. So hopefully this will not be too stubborn. let's see. Ah, all right, well, that was easy enough. Pop right out. So we'll disassemble this further on the bench, but it's a little chilly out here today, so I'm not going to worry about breaking it down any further. We'll take care of that inside. So that was easy. Okay, and there is spiders in there, spider nests. There is a bolt right here which holds the top casting onto the base. Let's see if we can get that one out. Oh boy, maybe not. Oh, wow, that one's in there. All right, let me get a breaker bar and a socket and see if we can get that loose. Let's hit this with a little, get this right here. Let's hit this with a little more blaster. See if that helps at all. Probably never been off there since it was made. There wouldn't have been any real reason to take it off unless you had to fix something. So let's see if that makes any difference. There we go. Just needed a nudge, I guess. Ow! Shit. Was not smart. That was not smart at all. Back to the wrench. What's a restoration project unless you can break a finger? I mean, come on. Get with it, folks. You should always use the box end of it, of your combination wrench, if something is really tight, because that way you have less chance of rounding it off. Of course, you may not be able to get it in there. Sometimes you can't. But better to use it if you can. Alright, so that's out, and there's a lock washer and a regular washer underneath there. Let's see if this is loose. It is not. Ah, okay. Well, that's because I didn't get them all. Let me show you this. There's one under here too. Let me drop you down. A bit of a shadow on that, so you may not be able to see it too well, but there's a nut underneath here too, holding that together. So let me blast that. See if we can get that one out. Let's see. It's not quite as stiff as the last one, but it's, as I said, it probably has never been disassembled to this point. There really wouldn't have been any reason in that to need to do so. So it is, and now it's loose. The casting's loose. There's nothing in the top here that, no moving parts in the top except that mechanism in the front, which you can remove without doing all this. So it's probably never been a part. Something I haven't done, which I intended to do, is take the serial number and see if I could find out when this was made. Pretty sure that Sears was still selling these things in the 60s, and I imagine Walker Turner was as well. Maybe a small mystery here. There's this. This thing is here, and I have no idea what that is for. The only thing I could think of is it might have been there to register the top casting side to side, so that the blade in the front, the top part of the blade mechanism was lined up with the bottom. But I don't know what else it could be before, and I don't know why they put a knurled nut on the thing either. That normally you only do that when something has to turn, and I don't see any particular reason why that needs to turn. Let me get a pair of pliers and see if I can turn that and get that out of there. Let's just see. Oh yeah, that's there we go. Came right out. So, but I guess it's an alignment pin. I don't know what else it would be. So anyway, it came out. So let's go up front and take the mechanism off. Just got some bolts holding it down, so let's get that open. It's proving that, well, I shouldn't say it. I was about to say this is proving to be a fairly easy disassembly. As soon as I said it, I wanted to bite my tongue because I'm sure we're going to have a problem now. The instant you think things are going to be easy, you run into issues. So that's got a 3/4 inch on it. Those larger ones were 7/8. Take that off. And I'm putting all the nuts in a bucket over here, keeping all the small parts. Is that a different size? No. There is a rib on the casting right there, so I can't get the box end of it around the nut, but turned out it was fairly loose anyway, so not a biggie. Alright. Let's see if this comes up. It does. And it requires further disassembly, so as I said, I'll do that indoors. I don't need to do that right here. Yeah, two big bolts holding that on. Put them there. I'll pull them. Oh, they might come out. There we go. Thought I might have to lift the base up to get them out, but they came out all right. Let's loosen this. Let's loosen the base up. That's a 9/16. Now this is sitting on a piece of wood. And I am not positive that's the way it came from the factory. I'm going to have to go look at some more of the advertisements, but it does appear to have been on here for a long time. I just thought that was a little odd that they interposed a piece of wood between the saw and the base. Maybe that was an anti-vibration strategy. Might have been because the saw is reciprocating like that, it's not rotating as like a circular, like a table saw would do, or a bandsaw. There is more vibration, so that might have been a strategy to dampen the vibration so the entire thing wasn't shaking, because any vibration, if this casting was mounted solidly to the legs, which are also cast iron, there would be a tendency for any motion up here to transmit down into the legs and there, and therefore into the floor. So it may be that they just did that to try to reduce the shaking. How heavy this sucker is. Alright, by itself it's not too bad. I think that top casting was the heaviest thing. Maybe the base is the heaviest part. It just, actually, as we strip it down, it doesn't seem that heavy. I was trying to lift it, it seemed a lot heavier than that, and oh well, anyway. So, can't exactly tell what that is under there. It has a reddish hue to it, so it might be red oak, or it could be cherry even. I don't think they'd use cherry on a machine though. So once we clean all the crap off of that, actually let me get a scraper and let's see if we can figure out what that is. couldn't find a putty knife, so let's just scrape a little bit with a chisel. Well, might be oak. It may just be that there's so much grease and stuff under there. It just kind of looks darker than it is. But well, we'll eventually clean all that off. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm just curious as to what it was. All right, next thing is to disassemble the bottom. Now, there are 6 bolts, 6 carriage bolts going down through there, 3 on each end. Won't be able to see if it's underneath there, but I'll loosen them up and pull this plank off. I'm surprised how light those components were once I got them off there, because when I tried to lift the whole thing, I couldn't lift it, and it felt. In fact, it was so heavy I had to take the motor off in order to slide it off the out of the truck. So I'm not sure. Maybe I was having a bad day. I don't know, but it just certainly felt much heavier than it did today once I got the pieces off. The motor was actually pretty heavy, even though it was not a big motor. It had quite a bit of weight to it. Given the amount of rust on it, I'm guessing that it probably sat in an unheated shop for a long time. It's all surface rust. It's not. It obviously wasn't out in the weather, but all the castings and everything are rusted, and I think it appears there might be traces of paint on it. I'm not 100% sure. There was green paint underneath the table. I'm assuming they would have painted it all the same color, so it probably had green paint on it originally. But I'm going to investigate that a little further. Did I get them all? No, I didn't get that one. Unfortunately, there is some damage on the front corner of this. I don't know whether they were running something into it or looks like it was hit more than once, so I'm not positive. So not sure what we're going to do about this, because I'd like to keep this natural color. It's going to be hard to patch that without it looking funny. So not sure about that yet. We're going to have to take a look at that and see what we can do with it. Now, once I got this off, it is green under here. It's a light green color on the flanges on the base. So I'm pretty sure it was light green at one time. It's kind of an industrial green. I may paint it green, but it's not going to be that green, because I really hate that institutional green that a lot of machinery is painted with. I don't care for it at all. So I am going to definitely not paint it that. Let's see if I can flip this over. I don't think I hit these with PB Blaster, but at least this one seems to be loose. A little surprised at that, but it seemed like the machine was fairly well oiled given the amount of grease on it, or they may have been cutting metal with it, and they may have been using cutting fluid, oil of some type on it when they were using it, and that may have preserved a lot of this better than it would have been. So. So I think we will try sanding these and see what they look like after we get them sanded out. The grain is real close together now, and it doesn't feel like hardwood, but it may be. I've never seen pine with the grain that close together before, so I don't think it's pine, but it just doesn't really feel as heavy as hardwood would feel. I'm not sure what it is. Could be Doug fir, possibly. That would make some sense. If you get straight grain Doug fir, old growth, the rings will be pretty close together, so very possible that's what it is. But anyway, that's off. So it came apart a lot easier than I thought it was going to. I thought it'd fight me. Looked like some of the stuff was pretty rusty, but it seemed to be all surface rust, so it came apart real simple. So I'm happy about that. So the next thing to do is to, I think I will start, well, I want to take that gearbox apart and see what's going on in there, because I said the shaft had a lot of play in it, and that was making it difficult to get the pulley on it in the proper spot. So I think that'll be the next thing. And then we will start getting the rust off the cast iron pieces and degreasing them so we can get them ready for paint. So I think but I think the gearbox, we'll take a look at that next and see what's going on in there. And I want to take that the head mechanism apart and see what's going on with the blower. So those are the two next jobs on it. So thanks for watching. As always, I'll see you next time.